Guys, I just got out of watching Spider-Man Brand New Day at Cinemark, thanks to our friends at D-Box. And of course, this is a movie I have very much been looking forward to. I had a feeling this would be a fun film. I had a feeling it would probably have like the best action and the best looking of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies just based off the trailers alone. What I did not expect was to be less than halfway through this movie and already going, wow, this is definitely the best of the four. And that thought, honestly, that feeling, it just kept getting stronger and stronger all the way till the freaking end. This is one of the best Spider-Man movies. I did not expect to be saying that. I don't exactly know where I'd rank it, but holy shit, this is Spider-Man. The interpretation, the storyline, the overall execution, it all captures so much of what I love about the comics and my favorite films of the webhead so far. But even if you completely remove that from the conversation, it's still just a damn good film. No Way Home was one of the best theater experiences of my life, but that movie feels specifically designed for like big crowd experiences. I'm confident in saying this movie would still be very effective without a crowd. Just watching it alone would still have impact. It's definitely not perfect. There are things that I'm going to touch on that might surprise you for things that didn't fully click for me, stuff I genuinely kind of scratched my head at and question, and I'm not confident those things will suddenly become strong for me on a second watch. But before all that, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, D-Box, which is in that theater right there. D-Box motion seats are synced with the movie, so when something moves, crashes, or hits on screen, you actually feel it in the theater, and you can control the intensity right from your seat, whether you want it more subtle or you want to go all in. It is another level of immersion without distracting from the movie itself. So if you're planning on booking tickets, use the link in the description now to find a participating Cinemark and book your movie with D-Box seats. Okay, so I really want to avoid hyper specifics and spoilers here, so keep a lookout for when Coy Jandro and I do our live spoiler talk. This movie is so much about loneliness and the difficulty of allowing yourself to connect with other people when letting anyone in feels almost impossible. It touches on the dangers of living alone, the importance of friendship and community, vulnerability, recognizing when you need help, and Peter learning that his humanity is what makes Spider-Man special, not the other way around. Now, I know I'm starting with all this like heavy thematic shit. This certainly has plenty of fun and thrills throughout, but it is a very character-driven story. There's so much strong writing for Peter Parker's and Daya's, MJ, and Sadie Sink's character. It's a coming-of-age story, but not in the same way the previous movies were. He's older now, so it's about entering a completely different stage of adulthood. It has a tone unlike any of the other Spider-Man films, yet it's kind of reminiscent of Raimi's Spider-Man 2 and Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man. And I want to emphasize all that first because this movie is filled with memorable scenes that have absolutely nothing to do with action. Some of my favorite moments are just characters talking. The movie is confident enough to slow down and let those conversations matter. My mind right now is just like flashing a very strong specific scenes, and there's just so many from beginning to end. This is definitely like the defining version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's one of Holland's best performances ever, possibly my favorite of his of all time. The isolation, the care, the empathy, humor, pain, all of it. I love when he's in the suit. I love when he's not in the suit. I just love him there in almost every moment of this movie. He's genuinely incredible. He captures someone who is trying so hard to continue being Spider-Man while almost convincing himself that Peter Parker doesn't need to exist anymore. I know I'm emphasizing it so much, but he's just so damn good. There's a sadness underneath so much of what he does, even some of the lighter moments. You can see Peter like trying to tell himself that, hey, he's okay because Spider-Man is still functioning, but he's not okay. Themes. And Tom plays that without like losing the humor or natural charm that has always made his version of this character work. He doesn't suddenly become a completely miserable or unrecognizable Peter. He's still awkward. He's still funny. He still cares deeply about people. You just feel everything he's carrying now. And Zendaya's MJ surprised the crap out of me, dude. I mean, well, not fully. I mean, Tom Holland and her, you know, he's much more involved in the creation of this film. They're together, but I never really cared that much for MJ in the first three movies. She's fine. She's funny. Zendaya's obviously very talented, but in terms of Peter and MJ's relationship and their chemistry, it's not really something my mind immediately flashes to when I think about those movies. Here, though, easily, some of the strongest scenes in this entire film involve her. Again, I can't fully go into it because the moments I'm thinking of are not featured in the trailers. All I'll say is there's this one rooftop scene where I knew in that moment, like, holy shit, I'm really connected to them. I'm invested in this relationship in a way that I honestly wasn't before. The movie finally allows their dynamics to have like maturity and real dramatic range. It doesn't just like rely on the fact that we already know these characters and therefore we're supposed to care about them. It like puts in the work. Their history matters. It just changed so much about the experience. There's a lot lot of surprises in how MJ is used and where her character goes. She gets material here that made me understand why this version of MJ is so important to this version of Peter Parker, and she delivers. Sadie Sink. I'm not going to be a spoil stuff here. I'll say this. When she first appeared in the film, I thought she was fine. Her performance initially felt a little by the numbers in terms of the purpose she was serving. But once we finally reach the parts of the movie where we actually get to know her character, when Sadie Sink is allowed to sink into something deeper emotionally, she honestly steals the show. She's incredible. And there's so much I want to say about her, and I really can't, but the emotional range she brings completely changed my initial reaction to the character. I love what she brought, and I can't wait to talk about her more in our spoiler discussion. Visually, this movie actually has color grading. Fuck, finally. It's one of the best shot Spider-Man movies. There's actual shadows, there's strong colors, there's interesting lighting and visual texture. New York has atmosphere and feels like a character. It doesn't just look like a location where Marvel characters happen to be standing. The VFX is so damn good. The stunt work and choreography is just so goddamn cool, and the way the camera follows Spider-Man really reminded me of the Insomniac games, and that's why those games are cool. It's about more than the moves and the combos, which this movie definitely seems to take inspiration from. It's the sensation of moving with Spider-Man. Destin Daniel Cretton constantly finds new ways to follow the action. The camera moves alongside Peter, above him and underneath him and side to side, and it feels like you're inside these sequences with Spider-Man, watching everything from like a safe distance. There's so much variety in the web swinging and whipping. Man, it's hot outside. And Peter is using his environment, changing decisions, making decisions, reacting. Whatever the situation, just gets more chaotic, but it's so focused. And yes, the fight that they tease with the hand is freaking awesome. It's exciting because it looks cool, obviously, but the action also tells you something about Peter. You understand like how he thinks and how much control he has or does not have in that particular moment. And that's what I want from my Spider-Man action. I also love the way they reestablish Spider-Man's world, because within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every character should kind of have their own universe. It should feel like they have their own corner, their own supporting characters, their own problems, and their own visual identity. I am sweating so much. Woo! But this movie, it immediately, finds that new world for Peter Parker. Yes, it's shared with the larger MCU, but it never feels restrained by it. The film understands that the MCU is around Peter without making his existence about the MCU. That gives it some of the atmosphere of Tobey and Andrews, while also still allowing this to be very clearly Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like, it feels connected, but it also feels like its own thing. And this movie also leans back into Peter's science brain. He's using his detective skills. He's inventing things. He's problem solving a lot of the time, which brings me to the first meeting between Peter and Bruce Banner that immediately gives us a different side of Banner. It's allowing science to become a genuine point of connection between Peter and Banner, and it's such a smart choice. You believe that these two would understand each other in a way that most people around them possibly couldn't, and that entire section with Peter and Banner contains some of my favorite Bruce Banner material in all of the MCU. I know it's a pretty big statement, but I mean it. I fucking mean it. And the fight with the Hulk, yeah, it's great. It's amazing. I don't need to say much more than that. It's great. You've seen pieces of it in the trailer, and it delivers. And Jacob Batalon as Ned, he's not in the movie as much as one would hope, but he's also great for the time he's there. I've always appreciated him as a performer. Now, to some of my criticisms, and here's where I imagine I disagree with a good amount of people. Frank Castle's the Punisher is in this movie, and this year it has been Punisher mode for me. I've read more Punisher comics than I ever have before. I rewatched season 1 and 2 of the Netflix series, as well as obviously One Last Kill. I haven't rewatched the Thomas Jane and Ray Stevenson version. Undoubtedly, Bernthal's is my favorite depiction, and he's one of my all-time favorite castings of the MCU, so I'm locked into Frank Castle right now. Him and Tom Holland, they do have like really strong chemistry together, and Frank gets some cool action moments, and we actually get to see a different side of his personality. They successfully took the heavy, emotionally tormented depiction Bernthal does so well and adjusted the volume to, fit this tone. He still feels like Frank. He doesn't suddenly become like a different character just because he's standing next to Spider-Man. And for the most part, that adjustment worked for me. I'll be honest though, it didn't always work for me. There are some humorous moments from Frank, not all of them, but enough where a joke felt like it went a tad too far, or became a little too corny for me. It was nice seeing Bernthal have fun playing the guy, because I don't exactly associate his commitment in the television shows with, like, he looks like he's having a fun time being miserable. But yeah, there were moments where I felt the tonal adjustment a little too much. And on a pure logic level, I spent a lot of this movie going like, isn't this guy a fucking criminal? He's a criminal. A super famous criminal who was put on trial and was a fugitive all over New York at one point. Why do cops just, like, let him get away with everything? He doesn't constantly feel like a vigilante who has to avoid law enforcement. There's like a couple of scenes, especially toward the end, where that just kind of started pulling me out of the movie a little bit, because I was like too aware, like, he shouldn't be in this room right now. And that really had me at odds, because there are still plenty of strong scenes and entertaining bits of banter, like between him and Holland, their unlikely partnership and the back and forth that comes with it, that are a lot of fun and are definitely a highlight of this movie. And it's also different with Frank's relationship than with Daredevil, you know, like, because Peter's not just another version of Matt Murdock, so it's not just like the same repeat philosophical argument, just with a different red suit. The central dynamic worked for me. It was just some of the humor and logic surrounding Frank's presence didn't always come together. There are villains teased in this trailer, like the return of Scorpion. This is something fans have wanted for a very long time because of the setup in Homecoming. And I love Michael Mando's work in, like, Better Call Saul. He's a fantastic actor. As far as the performance goes, he's good here because he's fucking Michael Mando, and the action involving him is also well done. But this is not the return I think a lot of people have been waiting for. Scorpion never really feels like a major Spider-Man villain. His presence doesn't have the impact you would expect from someone who was set up all the way back in Homecoming. Kind of feels like they used him because people have been wanting him here, but it's not super integral. He fits within the world as one of those, like, villains Spider-Man repeatedly has to deal with, and Spider-Man has plenty of enemies like that, the guys who just keep popping back up and creating problems for him. So I do like that element of it. Again, the world building, it helps, like, the world feel more lived in, and you get the sense that Spider-Man has been active and has more of a rogues gallery and history with people beyond this specific event that we're seeing on screen. But by the end of it all, Scorpion just isn't much of anything in the overall experience. I didn't hate his inclusion. I didn't think the performance was bad. I simply wanted him to matter more than he ultimately did. There's also another character here who's not in the trailers at all. I didn't know they were in this, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this without, like, giving away anything, but didn't fully click with me. It's definitely spoiler territory, but if you've seen it, you probably know who I'm hinting at, but it was kind of weird to me. It didn't always land. I'll just say. But those criticisms are part of why I can't call this, like, a perfect movie. I mean, what fucking movie really is perfect? But these are decisions that I question. There are tonal moments that didn't land, and there are characters, you know, I wanted more from, or, like, logical details that kind of pulled me out, and there's some beats where I was like, wait a minute, what happened to that storyline? But what works here in this 2.5-hour runtime really works, and most of it works. It's character driven, it's visually live, it is genuinely emotional. I cried during one scene that I found very moving. Tom Holland's best Spider-Man, best use of MJ. Sadie Sink makes a great introduction. Destin Daniel Cretton's direction is confident. The action, great personality, choir moments breathe. The score is great. The surprises, and it uses its runtime incredibly well. Exciting, there's tension, there's thrills, there's humor, there's real emotion, and it covers a wide spectrum without losing sight of Peter, and most importantly, it truly feels like an adult Peter Parker movie. I loved it, man. I thought it was near perfect, I would say, for my experiences. I walked into this expecting a fun movie with strong action. I walked out thinking I had just watched one of the best Spider-Man films. I loved it, and a great way you can love and experience it too is a D-Box here at Cinemark. You see, it's so bright outside and it's so loud in that theater. I don't want to be in there right now, but go watch this in D-Box, peeps.